theyeshiva.net.
Okay, we're on the Vav Amud Aleph. V'azdar Rava, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines from the bottom, the Vav Amud Aleph Pesachim. The line starts, Afilu Rosh Hashanah, V'saka Klovaya. What was the summation of what we learned? The last Shiurim, that Rabbi Yehuda, in the name of Rav, made a distinction between somebody who leaves their home within the 30 days before Pesach versus somebody who leaves their home before 30 days before Pesach. And Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav that if somebody leaves their home and goes to a different city 30 days before within 30 days before Pesach, then they have to do beer chametz before they leave. However, if they leave their home earlier, before 30 days, before the 30-day period prior to Pesach, they don't have to do beer. That is what Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav. Abaya and Rava now debate how you have to appreciate and understand the words of Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav. Abaya says that Rav was talking about a person who's has in mind to return home on Pesach. That's what he was talking about. Rava says, no, you misunderstand Rav. Rav was talking about a person who doesn't have in mind to return on Pesach. Abaye says Rav is talking about a person who's going to return. And then he says if within 30 days you have to do beer, and if it's before 30 days you don't have to do beer, and it's again talking about a person who is going to return on Pesach, and still before 30 days you don't have to worry about the chametz. Within 30 days you have to worry about the chametz. But if you're not going to return home on Pesach, then even within 30 days don't bother. Rava says, no, absolutely not. Rav was talking about a situation where the person is not planning to return to his house in the middle of Pesach. He's going to stay in the remote location over Pesach, or maybe for good. And that is the difference, that within 30 days he still has to be mevayer chametz even though he's not planning to return. And before 30 days he doesn't have to be mevayer chametz because he is not planning to return. But if he is planning to return on Pesach, he would have to do beer chametz before he leaves. In other words, as we explained, according to Abaye, there are 2 conditions that are necessary to obligate you to do beer chametz. Condition number 1 is it's 30 days. It's within 30 days before Pesach and you're still home. You didn't leave your home yet before 30 days. That's condition number 1. Condition number 2 is that you have in mind to come back on Pesach. According to Rabbi, any one of these conditions on their own suffices to obligate you in beer chametz, whether it's within 30 days, no difference if you want to come back or not come back, or before 30 days, no difference if you want to come back or not come back. But before 30 days, and you're not planning to come back for Pesach. One of these conditions alone is mechayev you in beer chametz. Yeah, that's what we learned yesterday and explained. Yes? That's a good question. Do you make a bracha? That's a very good question. Do you make a bracha? In other words, when you're doing beer chametz, you're doing bdika, and you're doing beer, do you make a bracha? Right? So there's, Gemarah doesn't say clearly, there's a conversation about it. Lahalacha, we paskin, most paskin that you do not make a bracha, because it's not the zman habdika. Since it's not, even though you have to do the bdika, the night before you're leaving, you have to do bdikas chametz. So according to Rava, you may be doing bdikas chametz on Chanukah, if you're leaving, and you're planning to come back, but nonetheless, and you have to use a candle and do everything like bdikas chametz. But lahalacha, most poskim say you don't make a bracha because it's not the zman that was established for bdika. The same is true if you do it within 30 days, but not on the night of bdikas chametz when it's the time for everybody to do the bdika. Yes.
So, like, if the person plans that he may come back on Pesach itself, so then there's still a focus on whether he needs to do even before 30 days.
Yeah. If a person plans to come back on Pesach, Abaye says that if you left before 30 days, you don't have to do beer chametz before you leave.
And then when you come back, how has the problem when you come back? Going back on Pesach, house full of chametz.
So you're going to come back on Pesach to a house full of chametz. Right. Right. So when you come home, you're going to have to be mevayer the chametz, yeah? You're going to have to get rid of the chametz. I mean, if it's Yom Tov, you'll put a keli over the chametz. Well, you're not going to come home on Yom Tov, hopefully. You'll come home Chol HaMoed, and then you'll burn the chametz, yeah? You have to burn the chametz right away. You have to get rid of it. You can't do bittul anymore.
Theoretical question or this is...
No, it's a very practical question. People traveled all the time. A guy goes through a desert, going to another. Yeah.
No, but if he's planning to come back on Pesach itself, if you left 6 days before, it's surprising when he would say, not a problem, coming back and we're...
Abaye says you don't have to. You don't have to be Mavayir Chametz. Yeah. The Gemara continues. Va'az de Rava l'tamei. And Rava here follows his shita. The Amar Rava, we have another statement of Rava. And this statement of Rava, when we compare it to this statement of Rava, we see that Rava had a certain way of thinking about this. So as the Rava, what Rava told Abaye, when Rava was arguing with Abaye about Rava was following, L'tamei was following his shit. What did we see Rava said? A different case. But as the Gemara will show, it's very similar. If somebody turns his home or a part of his home into an oitzer is a treasure place, a storage place for grain. Basically, I have a lot of grain, a lot of produce, whatever I have. I need a place to store it. And I have a room in my home. So I want to turn this room into a place where I'm going to store the grain for a long time. There's one issue. This room has been used for chametz. So there's chametz in the room. There may be chametz on the ground. There may be chametz somewhere else in the room, different parts of the room. Maybe it's visible. Maybe it's not visible. And now I'm going to turn this house, this room, into a storage place, a silo, filled with grain, let's say from earth to ceiling, full thing. What do you have to do now? When Pesach is going to come, this place will be covered with produce or grain which is not chametz. But it's going to be bearing chametz under it, because I know that there may be chametz in this room. So what's the halach? Says Rav, Kodim shloshim yoyim. If you're doing this before 30 days before Pesach, let's say in the beginning of the month of Adar, you have a lot of grain, and you need a room, you need a storage place, you fill it up. Your garage or wherever the silo is may have been used for chametz. You just fill it up. Do you have to first do b'dikas chametz? And I'll tell you why. Because when Pesach comes, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to remove the whole storage place? It's impossible. It's very, very hard. It's going to be work. So maybe now you have to do b'dikas chametz. So Rava says, Kodim shloshim ein zakuk l'vayir. You don't have to first get rid of the chametz in the room before you bring in the new grain to fill this room. You don't have to. Toich shloshim yoyim. But it's within 30 days. Zakuk l'vayir. You can't just bring in the produce. You first have to do beer chametz and get rid of all the chametz. What is the meaning of this? So Rashi says, oitzer. You see Rashi, the second line from the bottom. Oitzer. Shehichnes sham tvua. You bring in tvua to your home. It's becoming, an oitzer means a storage, a place where you store things. V'tachta chametz. Under it is going to be chametz. V'amrina l'kamon. We're going to learn later in the Gemarah, in the Mishnah, that chametz shenaflal of mapoilus harei kemavur. Chametz that a mapoilus, a pile of rubble falls on it. Let's say a house caves in, or a room caves in, or something happens, and the whole chametz gets buried under a heap of rubble, debris, garbage, rock, cement, earth, whatever it is. What happens on Pesach? Now, hareyu k'mavur. Halachically, we treat this chametz as though it was destroyed, as though it was eliminated, even though it wasn't. It's right under the rubble. But there's no obligation for me, not min ha-Torah and not midrabanan, to uncover the chametz and get rid of it. I'm good. It's true, the Rabbanon said you should be mavatal the chametz erev Pesach before the Zman, just in case, right? Just in case the city decides to clean up your rubble, and you don't want to have chametz in the middle of Pesach, which is going to be a problem, because then you're going to have to destroy it right away, and you may delay and be over by your rabbi. So just do bittul. So even if it gets exposed, you're good. But even if you don't do bittul, you're not over. Why are you not over? And the answer is, as we're going to learn there, we discussed it also yesterday, it says lo yimatzeh. Lo yimatzeh means it has to be matzui. It has to be accessible. Accessible means easily. Accessible means not, yes, if I take shovels and and I work for 20, 30 hours, it'll become accessible. But that's not called accessible. That's called inaccessible. So if the chametz is in my house, but it's not accessible, why? Because it's under a heap of rubble. I'm not over on Bayir Monsey because there's no Isur of Bayir Monsey. So Rashi Tain is a gewaldige Wort. When Pesach is going to come, where is this chametz going to be in this case? It's going to be under a pile, not of rubble, of grain, but it's the same concept. It's not going to be accessible unless I go and I dig and I dig and I dig and I remove all the produce and all the grain and all the storage. Then my chametz will be fine. So therefore, when Pesach comes, you're not going to be over on Bayir Monsey, right? So what's the problem? So Rabbi says, you don't have to do beer chametz now. Why? Even though there's chametz here, and it's Hanukkah, and we're other, and Pesach is going to come, right? So usually you would have to do beer chametz, but since there's going to be a mapoilus over it, not a mapoilus, it's not a heap of rubble, but a heap of grain, so therefore you're good. You're not going to be over on anything. So therefore you don't have to do beer chametz before. But Rabbi makes a difference when you put in the grain. So he says, before Shloshim, you don't have to worry. What do you mean? There's chametz here. You're causing your chametz to stay here Pesach. I don't care. I'm causing my chametz to stay here Pesach. What's the problem? My chametz is going to be here in Pesach in a way that I'm not over, so I don't care. Toich Shloshim, but within 30 days, Rabbi says, you do have to clean up the chametz. Why do you have to clean up the chametz within 30 days? What's the Havana? Why do you have to clean up? So Rashi says, the lechatchila lo yizahu be'urei. Because the lechatchila, that's not the way of beer chametz. Meaning, you can ask a question. Why do you have to do beer chametz? Get rid of the chametz. You're doing beer chametz. You're putting a pile of grain over it. That's very good beer chametz. It's like taking rubble and putting it over your chametz. That's very good beer chametz. You just said chametz that's under a mapoilus is arei kamavur. So why do you have to do a special beer chametz? You're doing it. You're bringing in grain. You're filling it up till the ceiling. Your chametz is going to be buried way, 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 way under. You're good. You did beer chametz. Arei kamavur. The answer, of course, is Rashi says the lechatchila lo yizau biura. When I have a mapoilus, it means a wall falls down, right? Or a ceiling caves in. I didn't do it. I didn't go take the ceiling and have it go on the chametz. It's not the way of doing beer chametz. If it happens, harei hu kimavur. If it happens, I don't have to do anything. It's like it's mavur. But that's not what beer chametz is. Beer chametz doesn't mean you take garbage, yeah, and you put it in your kitchen, and you cover the refrigerator and the cabinets with garbage. I mean, some people have that minhag anyway, even before Pesach. But that's not what beer chametz is. If that's the situation, that a whole heap of garbage falls on the chametz, it's good. Arei kimavur, right? But that's not the way of beer chametz. So Mele Rava says, within Shloshim Yom, the chiyuvim of Pesach already begin. They apply. What's the chiyuvim of Pesach? Since you're not going to be able to do b'dikas chametz on the night of Erev Pesach, why? Because this chametz is not going to be accessible on an Eikim Avur, and you won't have to do, right? So right now you have the chiyuv to get rid of the chametz. That's the chiddush of Rava. Toich shloishim yoim zakuk levayer. That's the vart. So when you say chametz nafal of mapoilus is mavur, it doesn't mean that you're fulfilling the mitzvah of bir chametz. You're not fulfilling the mitzvah of bir chametz. It's just hareyu k'mavur. You don't have to do bir chametz because the chametz is not accessible. So if it falls on its own, you're good, because once the chametz on its own is in this situation that it's inaccessible, you're not going to be over on Bayir and Bayir Monsey, and there's not going to be a chi of tashbisu, because it's like the chametz is not here. But to say that I should do this lechatchila and take away the mitzvah biyadayim, I should remove the mitzvah of bir chametz, I'm putting in grain, and as a result of this, I'm eliminating the mitzvah of bir chametz. Here, you don't say to do that. The person should not do that. And therefore, if it's before Shloshim Yom, so there's no mitzvah yet of bir chametz. There's no mitzvah of bir chametz yet, because it's before 30 days, right? So I could do what I want. I'm not eliminating a mitzvah of bir chametz. There's no bir chametz. On Chanukah, there's no mitzvah of bir chametz, right? So therefore, I could put in grain in my house. As a result, on Erev Pesach, this chametz I won't be able to be mevayir, so what? I don't have to be at mevayir. But within Shloshim Yom, we're the mitzvah of tashbisu. Midirabbanan already begins by putting in this grain. What am I doing? Biyadayim, I'm actively eliminating the potential of doing b'dika and biur. So Rava says, before you do it, before you put in the tefillah, get rid of the chametz. That's what he says. Toich shloshim yoyim zakuk levayin. You shouldn't nullify the mitzvah.
It's not just making sure you're not over about your mitzvah. You have to be aware of chametz. It's not just make sure that you're not over about your mitzvah, because this is if yes, I should be okay.
You're saying biur chametz is in order you shouldn't be over by your Rabbi Monsey. Even if we say that the whole tachlis of tashbisu is only not to be over by your Rabbi Monsey. In other words, that's essentially the mitzvah. The mitzvah of tashbisu is a hachana for by your Rabbi Monsey. There's certainly a strong svara to say that. It's all an extension of by your Rabbi Monsey, right? Sof kol sof, the Torah says, how should you get rid of the by your Rabbi Monsey? Yeah? Through tashbisu, through beer. And the Chachamim came and said, there's a process of how to do it, which is b'dikas chametz the night before. That's midirabbanan.
Tosa said earlier that deals with how hefty. It's also the same idea. It's not a normal beer.
Einachanami. When you do bittul chametz, according to Shittas HaTosfos, you're not being mekayim tashbisu. Rashi holds tashbisu is bittul. Tosfos holds bittul is hefker. It's basically like in the month of Shvat, I give away all my chametz to a friend of mine, and then I don't have to do beer chametz because I don't have chametz. But I wasn't mekayim tashbisu.
So hefker is the same idea in Mapolis.
But I wasn't mevatel the mitzvah b'yadayim. You understand what I'm saying?
It's the same idea in Mapolis.
Right, it is like a mapolis, yeah.
And you're allowed to do it in the 30 days also hefker.
So, but what's the case here? It's a very strange Mapolis, because it's not like you just cover hummus with a garbage bag. You pick a grain, which you might need to use to make a matzah that you take. So it's not like something that it just stays there this way, like a pile of grain which covers the hummus. It's something that you might undo this pile for your own need during Pesach, you know?
Oh, well, next line. I'll address you what you said in a moment. Let's see the next line. And when I said before 30 days that you don't have to get rid of the chametz on the ground, it's only eloshein daitoi lefanoisai. If you don't have any mind, any thought to evacuate the storage of the grain on Pesach, avol daitoi lefanoisai. But if you're thinking maybe on Pesach you're going to need it, and perhaps you're going to make the room empty, vacant, then even if you're filling up this place before 30 days with tefillah, why? Because what's going to happen on Pesach? On Pesach, you're going to open it up, and you're going to have a house filled with chametz. You're going to have a house filled with chametz, and it's going to be like the mapoilas. Somebody dug up the mapoilas, and here's the chametz, right? So if there was no bittul, then your mamish overan by your matzeh. Even if there's bittul, you still have to get rid of. You still have to get rid of the chametz, and every moment you don't get rid of the chametz, you're going to be over with the rabbanon by your matzeh, and on the chi of the rabbanon to do beer. So here we see that Rava's mahalach is very similar. Just like he spoke about leaving your home, here he's not speaking about leaving your home, but he's speaking about staying in your home. But the chametz is going to be in a situation that your shaykhis to it is going to be like when you're away in London if you leave New York. Just like in London you have no access to the chametz in New York. When the chametz is under a heap of grain, you have no access to the chametz. And in both cases, you're doing a similar thing. It's going to be in a matzav that is not going to be an inyan of bal matzeh. So we say, before 30 days, you're good. Just like Rav has said, if you left before 30 days, you don't have to do beer chametz. You know that you're not going to be doing bdika and beer. I'm good. It's before 30 days. There's no chiyuv, and I can go away, and I'm not going to be over on Pesach by Yirah, by Yimatzeh. Why am I not going to be over? Because I'm not coming back. And if I'm not coming back, so I'm very good. I'm good. Although we could say you should do bittul midirabbanan, but we're talking here midirabbanan. You should do bittul for extra credit, but you're not over on by Yirah. But if you know you're coming back in the middle of Pesach, then Rav says what? You're going to have a problem because it's like somebody uncovers it. And you're going to be over. You could be over on by Rabbi Yemotze when you come back. It's right there, and you did not get rid of it, right? And you can't do a new bittul then. The same thing exactly here. If you do it before Shloshim Yom, and you don't have plans to clean it up, it's like not coming back. I don't care. I don't care. You're not doing b'dikas and beer chametz. Fine, you don't have to do b'dikah and beer. When Pesach is going to come, it's not a problem. But if it's unless you're going to come back in the middle of Pesach, unless you're going to undig in the middle of Pesach, you're going to open in the middle of Pesach. But if it's within 30 days, here, just like when you travel away from your house within 30 days, even if you're planning never to come back, you're still mechuyev. Why? You're not going to be over by your Rabbi Yematzeh. You're right. You're not going to be over by your Rabbi Yematzeh. But right now you have already, it's 30 days. He holds the chiyuv and begins, so you have already a chiyuv of what? Of biur chametz. You can't just leave your house and ignore that chiyuv. That chiyuv already began. So what do you have to do? You have to, just like if you leave your house Erev Pesach, you're not potter from Dikras Chametz a night before. You say, oh, I'm not going to be there. You're not going to be there, but you have to do B'dikas Chametz. So therefore you have to do B'dikas Biur Chametz, even though it's within Shloshim Yom and you're leaving and you're not, because it's within Shloshim Yom and you're leaving and you're not coming back. But Rabbi says, you can't just run away. You have a chiyuv of B'dika and Biur. You say, but I won't be over by your Rabbi Yematzeh anyway. I know you won't be over by your Rabbi Yematzeh anyway. Good for you, right? But there's a chiyuv min ha-Torah to do tashbisu. There's a chiyuv min Rabbana to do b'dika and beer. Why are you running away from that chiyuv? It's a chiyuv on you. You're a Jew. You have chametz. You have to do b'dika and beer. You can't go away from that chiyuv. B'meila, you have to do beer chametz within 30 days, even if you know that this is going to remain in this matzav, because there's a chiyuv of beer chametz. And putting grain on it is not a chiyuv of beer chametz. Putting grain on it is only what? Eliminating the Isra Bayirah Bayimatzeh. Once it's there, Hareyu Kimavur. But the Rashi says, L'chatchila loy zahol biyura. That's not how you mavayir chametz.
He explained before, not when Machai when he's not in the city, when he's not accessible. This seems to be accessible because he's saying that you can just pick up.
Yeah, so we say like this. If you travel in the same city to another house, you don't say this halacha that it's not accessible. But if you go to another city, then it's called not accessible.
Right, so, but over here, it seems like we're talking here where like it's stuff is piled to the roof and you can't even get to it or something because it looks like
you have to dig. You have to dig. You have to dig. It's not easy. We're going to learn later what the shear is, how big the mapile is. If it's just 1 or 2 tfachim, if it's just a few inches, it's not considered that.
Here we're probably talking about.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
So if someone leaves,
We're going to see the shear of mapilas. If a door comes and just gets to it, azay, it's not. It has to be seriously buried.
someone leaves Erev Pesach, like a couple days before Pesach.
Yes.
Said, I'm just going to sell my house, and I'm going to an apartment somewhere in Florida or whatever, and it's completely clean. So they never have any reason to do anything.
You're right. If you're leaving your house and you're going to sell your house before Pesach, in other words, it's not going to be your house, then you're fine. You don't have to do anything.
The question was, they didn't do any bedikas. Did they have to buy some chametz and do a bedika and get rid of it, or can they? Their house they're selling, the other apartment they're going to.
You're saying you're selling your house completely,
Yeah,
and you're going to a hotel,
It's totally clean.
and it's totally clean, so you're not going to have chametz in your possession, because wherever there's chametz, it's not going to belong to you, right?
Yeah.
You still have to do that again.
And what are you going to do, bedika? Oh, so if you want to be mekayim the mitzvah of tashbisu, you're not going to be able to buy your Rabbi Yematzeh, but if you want to be mekayim the mitzvah of tashbisu and the mitzvah of bedika, the mitzvah of beer, you got to bring in chametz in a room that you're renting or that owns to you, and do tashbisu there. You're not going to be mekayim it either way. Yeah. Some people might not sell their entire house. They might leave one room not sold, right? So it's considered their house, and then they could do b'dika and beer over there, or send a shliach to do it. Because you're away, you could send a shliach to do it.
Over anything if you don't do
You're not over on anything.
because it's a positive mitzvah.
Yeah, but if you want to be mekayim that mitzvah, you have to.
No idea.
Unless you taina, I mean, there are those that we spoke to them in Chaschino that tashbisu, you're mekayim through not having chametz. So then you're mekayim it, but you're still not mekayim the mitzvah d'Rabbanan of b'dikas chametz. You understand that? You won't be mekayim. Yeah. But if you're selling your house, then this whole din is not shayach, right? Because the mitzvah of beer chametz and b'dikas chametz is about your house, your chametz. Even if it starts the night before, but it's not going to be yours, so there's no mitzvah over there. Yeah. So that's the two things that Rava said that the Gemara connects, that va'az the Rava l'tameh. But it has to be at least tall 3 tefachim, which would mean approximately, let's say, between 9 and 12 inches. A foot. Around the foot. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see later. We're going to discuss some pilots.
It's not that much until you're the one showing there.
What do you say? Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Allah is like Vikas Chametz. I mean, not right. You learned that Vikas Chametz is the night before, but here we're saying even 30 days before somebody can do it, right? And there's teachers they say can do it even 60, 90 days before. So I guess that's how does that correlate with the Mishnah that said the time to do it is the night before, the night of the 14th?
Well, that's what he's asking. He's asking a big question now. Let's say a day before Pesach or 2 days before Pesach, I take all my chametz and I put it in public property, or I give it to my neighbor, or I just leave it outside. I just get rid of it, right? Now it comes Erev Pesach. I don't have any chametz. My house is completely clean, and that you say you're allowed to do. Over there, I'm not being mevatel the mitzvah b'yadayim. Over there, I'm actually getting the chametz out of my house. I may not be making a fire, right? I may not be mefarer v'zoyre l'ruach or mata l'yam, or flush it down a beis hakisei. I'm not doing that style of tashbisu, yeah? But what? Just like with bittul, it's hefker, yeah? Here, I made it actually hefker in gashmias. I threw it out. I put it in I go to the garbage dump in the city and I put it in there. I wasn't mevatel mitzvahs biur biyadayim. Even if my house is cleaned up a month before Pesach, and I get rid of all the chametz, yeah? So the Chachamim said there's no chiyuv b'dikah here. Why is there no chiyuv? By chametz. Let's say you have a house a whole year, you don't have chametz there. You weren't mevatel a mitzvah biyadayim. Why? Because there's no mitzvah on you. The mitzvah is makim shemachnisim by chametz tarich b'dikah. So once Erev Pesach comes and I have absolutely no chametz, and I got rid of the chametz, so I'm good. Even if you're going to say I wasn't mekayim tashbisu, because tashbisu is kum v'aseh, you have to have chametz and you have to get rid of it. Okay, zol zayin. Depends how you touch tashbisu. If it's kum v'aseh, it's a shaval tasa. Certainly, b'dikas chametz I wasn't mekayim. Why? Because there's no chiyuv. I can't make a bracha. I'll be your chametz. I don't have a mitzvah to do be your chametz. The doctor told me I'm not allowed to have any carbs. I'm not allowed to have chametz a whole year. But I wasn't mevatel a mitzvah b'yadayim. Maybe I didn't do it. You get it? That's not called being mevatel a mitzvah b'yadayim. Here, you have the chametz in the house. The chametz is staying in the house. You're not going to be over by your rabbi, your matzah, but the chametz is staying in the house. The chiyuv of boitkinas hachametz lo yiraneh. Take the chametz and beer, destroy it. How do you want to destroy it? Fire, fire v'zoyre l'ruach, mata layam, or in the right zman you can give it away to somebody, right? Somebody sells their whole house to a guy. They weren't mevatel a mitzvah b'yadayim. They're not mechuyev in tashbisu. I don't have chametz. I'm not mechuyev in tashbisu. Is there a svara to go buy chametz and be mekayim tashbisu and then make chametz do b'dikas chametz? Yes, it's an inyan because you want to do the mitzvah, but you're not mevatel a mitzvah b'yadayim. Here it's something else. Here I have chametz in the room. I'm not being mavayir the chametz. I'm just bringing in tfu and I'm covering the chametz. That's already different. That's not nichel in the tashbisu. That's not a form of beer chametz. Verstehst? Mashenka, the other form is that's l'chatchila part of beer. That's l'chatchila part of beer. Rashi holds it's tashbisu. Tosfos holds it's not tashbisu. It's metam hefker. But I was mafker the chametz. Whether it's midiraisa or midirabanan, I got rid of it. V'chuli. Okay, zog the Gemarah weiter. And now we come to the big question. Hani shloishim yoy maya v'detayu. Where did we get this 30-day maisa? We spoke about a 30-day period. Where did they get the concept of 30 days? Maya v'detayu. What is the function of these 30 days? Why did the Chachamim make this the shear that from 30-day period you already have a chi of b'dikas chametz according to Rav? And even according to Abaya, you have to be conscientious and start worrying about Pesach. The Tanya we learned to Braisa shoyal in v'darshin b'hilchas haPesach kaidem haPesach shloishim yoy. The students ask, and the teachers, the Chachamim, they darshan, they expound on the laws of Pesach before Pesach 30 days. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel loimer shtei Shabbosos. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says no, only 2 weeks before. So Mela, the Gemarah is saying, since Shoyel and V'Darshan b'Hilchas HaPesach Kodim HaPesach Shloshim Yom, Rashi says, last Rashi, it's finishing Rava. Kodim Shloshim loy chala chayvas biur olav. V'chimata hi shaita loy mechuyev k'damaran danaf lov mapilos. This is Rava's svara, right? Before 30 days, there's no chayvas biur, right? And when Pesach comes, right? Harei avor. There's weiter no chayvas biur. Harei avor. But within 30 days, there's a chayvas biur. So Mele Rava says, do biur, don't eliminate the possibility for biur. Fine. Where did they come up with this concept? Because since that means 30 days before, you have to start thinking about Pesach. You have to learn the halachas of Pesach, ask questions, teach it, darshan, they have to give drushes, they have to give shiurim, lectures about Pesach. According to Rav, it doesn't only mean that you have to speak about Pesach, think about Pesach. It means that the chiyuvim of Pesach begin 30 days before. Meaning, if you can't do it in the right time, you have to already begin doing it 30 days. That's why the chiyuv, because chametz, is within 30 days, even if you're going to be in a situation that you know that you're creating a situation where, like, you're leaving your house and you're not going to be there Pesach and the chametz is going to remain there. You're right. But the Chachamim said there's a mitzvah of biur, so get rid of your chametz. You're not going to be everyone by your rabbi and matzah. That's very nice, but there's still a mitzvah of biur chametz. So get rid of your chametz. Again, even if it's mitzvah by your rabbi, but there's still a mitzvah of biur chametz. Shoylim b'darshan shloshim yom. This would mean that Reb Shimon ben Gamliel would disagree with Abaye and Rava, because he would say it's just 2 weeks. So Reb Shimon ben Gamliel would hold that if you leave your house 15 days before Pesach, right, and you're not going to come back, it's like Kodim Shloshim Yom, because he holds the Achanas for Pesach don't begin. So obviously the halacha is not like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, the halacha is like Tanakama, which is the majority. So Abaye and Rava both put the mark at Shloshim Yom based on Rav. But according to Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, it would seem, based on this Gemara, it would seem that the halacha would change. What means shoyalin and darshan? Shoyalin means you ask, and darshan means you're doirish. What do you think? Why shoyalin? Darshan, I understand. Explain, teach. Darshan b'Hilchas HaPesach. Give drashas, expound, elaborate, analyze, shir. What's shoyalin v'darshan b'Hilchas HaPesach? Shoyalin, you ask. Was du? Huh? And it says shoyalin before darshan. How could there be shaylas before the drasha? So it's interesting. You're saying the whole Pesach is Shilas and Shuvas. We got it Levin. Chakana ben Shoyel. So he says Shoyel, and it starts with Shilas.
Shows that the chiyuv start the day before because you're involved. It's just not dark. When you do things, then you have questions.
You have questions.
That shows more that it's Shoyel. Shows more than dark.
One of the Chucham from Vandalism comes in. They'll fragen, you answer.
Huh?
You should ask questions.
Yeah, at Pesachla. Any day Elishal, still at Pesachla. But usually you have to ask, yeah? It's all B'derech Shayla or Tshuvas. He's saying that's why he uses the word Shayla because it's Pesach. Can sein. The Ran says, and other Rishonim say, that there's a halacha about if a Rav is sitting and 2 Talmidim come over, and one is Shoyal Kenyan and one is Shoyal Shloi Kenyan. Meaning one is Shoyal about something that's relevant, and one is asking something abstract. So you answer first the relevant question. So that's why he says Shoyal, and he's saying a halacha. That before 30 days, you don't have to address his question because it's not Shoyal Kinyan. You ask now about Sukkot, fine. It's important, but it's not Shoyal Kinyan. He says Shoyal, and if he asks a question, now it's called Shoyal Kinyan. You have to address his question first. I saw once Meiser that there was a Rav. His name was Reb Tzvi Hirsch Berliner. He was a Rav of Mannheim in Germany. And Shabbos HaGadol, every Rav gives a drasha. It's a timeless tradition. Rashi says the reason Shabbos HaGadol is called Shabbos HaGadol, Rashi writes in Sefer HaPardes, it's called Shabbos HaGadol is because the rabbi speaks so long, it seems like a long Shabbos. Shabbos HaGadol. Even then, it was that way. He says the drashas was so long, he said, whoa, this is going to be a long Shabbos. Meaning a very boring, long Shabbos. Rashi says this. So even in the 11th century, there was still the problem of ADD. Long, Shabbos Hagad. When things are boring, they're long. When things are interesting, time flies. Everybody knows that. Right? It says
gave a long drush on Shabbos Hagad.
Rashi, huh?
Rabbi Jacobson gave a long one. It happened.
It happened. Not everybody thought so. Well, you're saying if it happened on Shabbos HaGadol, not everybody agreed, but fine. I thank you. So one Shabbos HaGadol, Reb Tzvi Hirsch Berliner, the Rav of Mannheim, he didn't give us drasha. No drasha. The Balabatim came, what happened? So he says, the chiyuv of giving a drasha comes from this Gemara. It says, shoyal in v'darshan. If somebody has questions, then I give a drasha. Here, not one person had a question. A drasha has to be a response to a question. So it reminded me, I saw this, so it reminded me that there was once a rabbi, he was in a shul, he was hired, and 6 months later he resigned. Suddenly, without warning, he just resigned, I'm quitting. So the board met him and they said, Rebbe, what happened? Did somebody embarrass you? He says, no, you treated me very nicely. Did somebody say something that hurt your feelings? No, you were very kind. Is the salary not enough? I mean, explain to us. We could raise the salary. No, absolutely not. Do you not like the community? No, a wonderful community. So he says, so why are you quitting? He says, because this is the first question in 6 months. Shoyal in v'darshan. And it's a very important yesod, because if the drasha doesn't come without, if it comes without a question, ultimately it's ineffective, because the person is not really open to hear. The question is what creates the curiosity and the openness. The shelling creates the keli. So there could be darshan, which is the oir. There's no keli, and shisin and shisin and shisin. There's no... I would tell my chavre in yeshiva, the bachrim, we're not going to learn Teves unless you're bothered by Teves' question on Rashi. Let's learn the Rashi. If you're bothered by the question, then we deserve to learn the answer. If not, I'm going to be wasting your time. It's okay, more information. This is a mistake we make. If you're not asking the question, not bothering you, so there's something off. So shoyal and v'darsh. Yeah. And then I'll tell you a word from the Heilige Divrei Yoel, the Satmerov, Schisse, Yugan Alayni, Val Kol Yisrael, in Divrei Yoel, Parshas Vayikra. Noch mas tamagalan Divrei Yoel? Yeah. So Divrei Yoel, Parshas Vayikra, Zok the Heilige Satmerov, Rabbi Yoel, that Shoyal in V'darshan B'chsa Pesach, he says the main objective of all drashas is they should penetrate the listeners. So he says, before you start darshaning shoyalin, dav beten the Eibishter, you have to ask Hashem. They should have atzlacha to penetrate the listeners. He says shoyalin. He says you have to ask Hashem, and then darshan. Then you could start communicating. As I zog the divrei yoel and Parshas Vayikra. So b'meila it starts 30 days before, and therefore they made the time marker of 30 days. Frag the Gemarah, nothing is taken for granted. Why 30 days? Why not 40 days? Why not 60 days? Why not a week? My time of the Tanakama. What's the reason? What's the svara of Tanakama? That 30 days is the time to start learning Hilchas Pesach and teaching Hilchas Pesach. Answers the Gemara, fascinating. We got to learn from Moshe Rabbeinu. Sharei Moshe imid bePesach Rishon. Moshe standing on Pesach Rishon. Do me a favor, take out Chumashim, because we're going to have now a bunch of psukim, and I want you to understand this. If you can also give me one of the blue Chumashim. Take the blue Chumash, it'll be easier. You know the blue Chumashim, yeah? It's going to be a bunch of psukim now, how we learn out that you start learning Hilchas Pesach 30 days before Pesach. Okay, Agar Shekoyach. So take a look. We're going to turn to Parshas Bahaloischa. I'm sorry, go to the beginning of Sefer Bamidbar. Go to the beginning of Sefer Bamidbar. If you have the blue Chumashim, it's page 376. A new book of Chumash, Sefer Bamidbar, the book of Numbers. Take a look at the first pasuk. Bamidbar, Perik Aleph, pasuk Aleph. Okay? Page 376. Now focus on these words. Vayidaber Adonai al Moshe b'midbar Sinai ba'el Moed be'echad lachodesh hasheni b'shana hashenis l'tzeisa meretz Mitzrayim lemer. Hashem spoke to Moshe in the desert of Sinai, in the Mishkan. When? On the first day of the second month, on the second year of leaving Mitzrayim. What does this mean? The Jewish people left Mitzrayim on Tesvav Nisan Pesach, 2448 since creation. The second anniversary after Pesach, the second anniversary, meaning the first Pesach, a year later was the first anniversary. Yeah. 2 weeks later was Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Be'echad lachodesh hasheni, Rosh Chodesh Iyar b'shana hashenis, the second year of coming out of Mitzrayim. This is not Rosh Chodesh Iyar, the year they left Mitzrayim. A full year passed, plus 2 weeks, Hashem spoke to Moshe. What did he say? I want everybody counted. As Rashi says, Hashem is always counting the Jews because he loves them. You count what you love. And Rashi says, the first day of Nisan, the Mishkan was put up. This is, the first anniversary of Yitzhak, the Mishkan was put up the first day of Nisan, right? A month later, Rosh Chodesh Iyar, a month after the Mishkan was put up, after a full year after Yitzhak Mitzrayim, he said, count. Count the Jews again, even though they were counted many times. And what happens? Take a look in Pasuk Yud Ches, the bottom of the same page. They gathered the whole community on that day. He didn't wait. That day, and they made a census of Klal Yisrael. Okay? You got it. Number one. Now you got to turn 2 Parshas later, Parshas Beha'aloischa. Parshas Beha'aloischa, turn to page 404. Numbers chapter 9. We're going from Perek Aleph to Perek Tes. Page 404, Perek Tes. Shlishi of Parshas Beha'aloischa. Okay, take a look. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe b'midbar Sinai b'shana hashenis l'tzeisum eretz Mitzrayim b'chodesh harishon leimer. Hashem spoke to Moshe in the desert, the second year after leaving Mitzrayim. When? In the first month. First month. So the first Bamidbar was talking about the second month, Rosh Chodesh. This is the first month. What did he tell Moshe? V'yasu as b'nei Yisrael as ha-posach b'moyadoi. Jews should make the Pesach in the right time. Barba asa yoim b'chodesh hazeh ben arba'im tasu oiseh b'merdek kol koisem v'chol mishpat of tasu oiseh v'yidaber Moshe b'nei Yisrael lasas ha-posach.
2 weeks before Pesach.
It says the first month. How do you know 2 weeks? We don't know. It says he spoke in the first month. It says make the Pesach on time. What's on time? The 14th of Nisan. Why is he telling this to him? Don't think it was a one-time event last year before you left Egypt. A year passed. I want you to do it again. I want a carbon Pesach this year. What happens? Pasuk Hey. They do it. On the 14th day they make a Pesach. Pasuk Vov. There were people who were contaminated, they were tummy, they couldn't make the Pesach. When? On that day. You see how it says twice in the same pasuk by Yoim Ahu. On that day they went over. Why should we lose out? Why should we lose out? So Moshe says, let me see what Hashem has to say. Pasuk Tes Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe Leimer. Daber Bnei Yisrael Leimer, and here comes the mitzvah called Pesach Sheni. If somebody was Tameh or somebody was in a remote location and they couldn't bring the first carbon Pesach, so on the second month, on Iyar, on the 14th day, they could bring the Pesach Sheni, the carbon Pesach, to make up for the void of the first month. Okay? When did Moshe tell them this mitzvah of Pesach Sheni? When did they come to him? On the 14th of Nisan. It says Bayoim Ahu twice. There were people who couldn't do the Pesach Bayoim Ahu, and they came Bayoim Ahu. They didn't wait the next day, the next week to complain. They right away came. We understand why, because they couldn't do the carbon Pesach. They came. So Moshe says, wait, imdu, stand. He doesn't say, go home, give me a week to think about it. Imdu. Imdu means stand, wait. Right? He doesn't send them home. Imdu, wait. Ve'eshma, let me hear what Hashem has to say. What does Rashi say? How did he know Hashem is going to tell him anything? Maybe God will say, no appointments now. No appointments. Come Achron Shal Pesach. It says, Talmud HaMuftach L'Shmoya Mipi Rabbi. Asher Yeludish. He knew he was going to get an answer. That type of communication he had with God. Hashem tells him, mitzvahs of Pesach Sheni. Comes the Gemarah now. Now put it together. How do you know that 3 days before Pesach, you have to start asking and darshaning Belchas HaPesach? Sharei Moshe Med Pesach Rishon. Moshe is standing in the time of Pesach Rishon. What does that mean? On the 14th of Nisan. Umazir al Pesach Sheni. And he's cautioning, he's teaching the Jewish people about Pesach Sheni, which is 30 days from now. This is 14th of Nisan, and he's talking about the 14th of Iyar. Shenemar, v'yasu b'nei Yisrael ha'Pesach b'moyed. It says, Hashem said, make the Pesach in the right time, which is the 14th. Uksiv, the next psukim, it says, V'hi anashim asher yitmeim l'nefesh adam. And they couldn't do the Pesach, and they came to Moshe, and he told them about Pesach Sheni. So b'meila is our raya, that shoyal and v'darshin b'hilchas ha'Pesach, koydem ha'Pesach shloshim yoim, just like Moshe gave it. What's the rush? What's the rush? We have 30 days. I'll tell you, Erev Pesach, there's nothing to do now. They can be at Makav now. They don't need to go buy sheep from New Zealand. What's the rush? 30 days before Moshe is telling them the halachas. So we learn also by Pesach Rishon, start 30 days before, which is Purim. Now somebody once asked me, Nisan has 30 days, so it's 31 days. The answer is Nisan today has 30 days because we have a fixed calendar. But then Nisan didn't necessarily have 30 days. It could have been 29 days, and therefore it's 30 days. Okay, just a horror.
That's why Shul and V'darshin. Whole idea because they asked first.
Very good. Shul and V'darshin, they asked first. But this raises a question. And the question is, take a look in Teves, Mazir al Pesach Sheni, Afal Gav Shaydei Sheilosei, Huska Kloimalan. What's the raya from here? Moshe didn't start giving speeches about Pesach Sheni. They came to him, they were screaming, Lama Nigora. Lama Nigora. So he asked Hashem. He had to answer their question. How do you know from here that you have to initiate the learning 30 days before? They asked, so he answered. So Tosfos says, Moshe could have just said, at the moment, don't do a Pesach. You can't do it. And then later he'll talk about the Pesach Sheni. The fact that he went into all of the details and the full elaboration, all of the halachas, that Tosfos says that's the raya. In other words, he could have just said no. That's what Tosfos says. Or the Chidush Haran and Tosfos Rosh say, or at least you want to comfort them. Say Bekitzer, there's going to be another chance. There's going to be a Pesach Sheni. The fact that he gave all the halachas of Pesach Sheni teaches that this is the right time. It's actually appropriate. Moshe didn't say, Rabbi, it's a stressful day. It's Erev Pesach. The olam is this. A bunch of billions of Jews baking karbanos. A few people are tamei. 1, 2, 3 people are tamei. It wasn't a lot of people. You'll come to me tomorrow after Shacharis. I'll be... No, this is the time. Shloshim Yom Kaidem HaPesach. He's going to talk about everything. He could have just said, Bekitzer, don't do it, or say you're going to have another chance, etc. That's the raya of Tanakama. Frag the Gemarah Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. So how does Reb Shimon ben Gamliel argue? It's a starke taina. Malach, he says, Aidi da'ayri b'milah de Pesach, masiklu l'chol milah de Pesach. Since Moshe was anyway talking about Hilchas Pesach, it was Erev Pesach. It was the time of the carbon. So obviously this is the time. So once he was already talking about Milah de Pesach, so he already finished and he spoke about everything of Pesach Sheni. In other words, what Reb Shimon ben Gamliel is saying is not stam, let me go to another subject. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel is saying a vort. This is how the Chidush Haran explains. Pesach Sheni is an extension of Pesach Rishon. Pesach Sheni is not a separate holiday. You have Shavuos, you have Sukkot, you have Pesach. Pesach Sheni is the fulfillment of Pesach Rishon. I didn't do Pesach Rishon, I do Pesach Sheni. It is Pesach Rishon. It's for the person who didn't do Pesach Rishon. He has another Pesach Rishon. It's called Pesach Sheni. So in Mele, it's not a separate Indian. It's a histafus. It's branched. It's an extension of Pesach Rishon. So Mele, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says, it's not a raya shloshim yom koydem hachag. It's not shloshim yom koydem hachag. It's the day of the chag. He's talking about the chag. The people who can't do the chag now, this chag, they're doing it a little later. He's talking about this chag. Masiklu l'chol milah de Pesach, everything of Pesach. That's what Reb Shimon ben Gamliel responds.
Haven't they already gone to Shavuos already? This is the second Pesach.
This is the second Pesach of Jewish history.
Yeah, so I'm saying, didn't the people, no one was aware of this Pesach?
No, it's the first time it happened.
I'm saying not
The first Pesach they were in Egypt.
Not the first Pesach was in Egypt, then they left, then the Torah was given,
Yeah.
right, at Har Sinai.
Yeah.
So then the second Pesach followed the giving of the Teves, so that didn't the people, weren't they aware of the Pesach? They have a question right now. But
No, this parsha wasn't given on Mount Sinai.
so when was this Parsha given?
This parsha was given by Midbar Sinai, but a few months after the Ten Commandments. This parsha wasn't given the first 40 days.
So the people weren't aware.
Yes, they weren't aware of this mitzvah. This mitzvah was initiated through the people
So good.
at the second Pesach.
So that means that there are other psukim besides.
Of course,
that,
of course,
that
of
people
course,
weren't aware
of course. Yes, yes, yes.
Why did Tanakama learn that Pesach Rishon from Kalvachomer? Like Sheni, 30 days?
Yeah, Madach Pesach Sheni 30 days before, and Pesach Sheni doesn't have so many halachas because you don't have to get rid of the chametz Pesach Sheni, right? You're allowed to have chametz on Pesach Sheni. Matzah v'chametz in b'mayis. Certainly Pesach Rishon needs 30 days.
So why is Moshe Rabbeinu talking about Pesach?
So it's a kal v'chayim. Madach Pesach Sheni, you need 30 days. For sure Pesach Rishon, you need 30 days.
But I mean, this is the 14th, and Moshe Rabbeinu is talking about Pesach. It's not 30 days.
He's talking about the second Pesach, which is 30 days later. So Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says, you're right. He's just talking about Pesach. It happens to be 30 days later. But Tanakama says, Pesach Sheni, Fart is 30 days later. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel is looking at the Teuchen. Mitzvah the Teuchen, it's Pesach. What's the difference? Reb Shimon, the Tanakama is talking about the practicality. Practicality is Pesach Sheni is not Pesach Rishon. It's 30 days later. That's Taka the Machloikas. Yeah? Reb Shimon ben Gamliel is talking about the Teuchen. Mitzvah the Nekuda of Pesach.
But Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel has a much better right because he has a posuk that starts from the first day of months to study halachas of Pesach. He has a posuk.
Let's see. My time with Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. What's the reason for Reb Shimon ben Gamliel? Sharei Moshe med Bereish Chodesh shel Mazid ala Pesach. Moshe is standing on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and he's cautioning Jews to be makar of the Pesach 2 weeks later. Shenemar. And now we come to another pasuk. Now we have to go to Parshas Boy. To Parshas Boy, page 181. The book of Exodus, chapter 12, Yud Beis Perek Aleph. Take a look. Page 181 in your blue chumash. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe v'Aaron be'Eretz Mitzrayim lemer. Hashem speaks to Moshe and Aaron and Aaron. What does he say? HaChodesh hazeh lachem rosh chadash mishnu lachem l'chad sham. This month is the first of the months. It's the head of the months. It's the first of all the months of the year. In other words, he's speaking in Nisan. This is the month. Dabru el kol adas Yisrael lemer ba'asol l'chodesh hazev yichlam ish sel le'veisav v'sel l'bayis. Speak to the Jews on the 10th day of this month, Yud Nisan. I want every family to take a sheep. And then Pasuk Vav, he says, guard this sheep till the 14th day, and then offer it as a Pesach offering on the 14th day. Says Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, Moshe on Rosh Chodesh Nisan is telling the Jews to be makri of the carbon Pesach on the 14th, which is 2 weeks. Shenemar HaChodesh hazeh lachem rosh chadashim, uksiv dabru el kol adas Yisrael lemer ba'asol l'chodesh hazeh v'yichlam ish sel lebeis avos, and offer it on the 14th day. So therefore, we learn from here that Hilchas Pesach, Shoyel and V'darshin, Shtei Shabbos, it's 2 weeks before. So the way the Gemarah understands this is, on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Moshe Rabbeinu received the commandments from God. On that day, he related it to the Jewish people, that they should buy a sheep on the 10th of the month, keep it till the 14th, and shecht it on the 14th. So he taught Hilchas, and then he went into the other halachas. He taught Hilchas Pesach 2 weeks before the Hakrava. Now you're going to say, 1 second, from here you only have a raya 10 days before, not 2 weeks before, because they had to take the sheep on the 10th of Nisan, right? Not 2 weeks, only 10 days. But the fact is, Moshe didn't say today only take the sheep. On this day, Moshe said everything. Take the sheep, and he discussed how you offer it and sacrifice. Then he went into all the halachas of the Seder, what you eat with it, the matzah and the mother. So the Chidush Haran explains, he discussed all the halachas of Pesach. He didn't delay it, because it's 2 weeks before. Asks the Gemarah, Mimayde Bereish Yarchakoi. Dilma bar ba b'yarchoi b'chamisha b'yarchakoi. How do we know that this was Rosh Chodesh Nisan? Maybe it was day 4 of the month or day 5 of the month. How do you know? Fascinating question. How do you know when all this happened? It says God tells Moshe, "HaChodesh hazeh lachem rosh chadash rishnu lachem l'chad shana." This is the first month. How do you know when he spoke? Maybe he spoke Daled Nisan. Maybe he spoke Hey Nisan.
That's the mitzvah.
Chodesh at the beginning of Chodesh. The ganze Chodesh. Jetzt Rosh Chodesh. Jetzt Rosh Chodesh. It's not like in the middle of the month.
Isn't it the first mitzvah?
Well, the pasuk says this month is the head of the month. It's the first of the month. Maybe it was Daled Nisan, and he said this month.
This is still the same month.
Huh?
Still the same month.
Yeah, but you don't have a right that it's 2 weeks. It could be it wasn't 2 weeks. Could be it's 10 days. Could be it's 9 days. Could be it's 8 days. Maybe it's Zion Nisan. Maybe it was Tes Nisan. And he basically, it's only 4 days, 5 days you have to speak about Hilchas Pesach before. So you're asking a starker shaila. It's a good shaila because Tosfos asks it. We learn Chazal always explain HaChodesh Hazel Lechem Rosh Chadash Mishnu Lechem L'Chodesh Hashan is not redundant. It's two separate things. HaChodesh Hazel, he showed him the new moon. HaChodesh Hazel, when you see the new moon, Rosh Chadash, and this is Rosh Chodesh. Because he showed him the moon, he said, this is how you do Kiddush HaChodesh. Then he said, Rishnu Lechem L'Chodesh Hashan. That's a great raya that it's Rosh Chodesh Nisan. It's a great raya. And yet the Gemara asks, Mimai de Bereish Yarchakoi. In fact, the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh is given here by showing him the absolute new moon. The answer to this is, the Gemara knew this. The Gemara meant, that's what, when Hashem spoke to him. How do you know when Moshe said it over to the Jewish people? Hashem, I know, told him on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. That I have no question. But Moshe had to give it over to the Jewish people. How do you know when Moshe gave it to the Jewish people? It says later in Pasuk Chaf Aleph, page 183, Vayikra Moshe l'chol ziknei Yisrael vayomer aleim. Go take a sheep. Doesn't say a date. So maybe that happened on Daled Nisan and Hey Nisan.
Watch it. It says Hashem spoke, didn't whisper to Moshe's ear. He spoke, so everybody heard.
No, nobody heard. Nobody heard. Moshe and Aaron also.
So Aaron knew.
It says,
The reason Magdim limits Hashem spoke. You have to give it over right away.
why? You say, why would Moshe delay it? I don't know. Maybe he wants to get everybody together. Maybe he feels he should do it closer to the time so people won't forget. There won't be so much stress. Maybe he feels to do it as close as possible to the Pa'ula. It's maybe, people could remember it more and retain it more. Right? I mean, I don't know. But the Gemara says, how do you know? So you'll say, who cares when he said it? Hashem said it on Rosh Chodesh. But from Hashem saying it on Rosh Chodesh, I can't bring a proof. That's when Hashem said it, for whatever reason. From Moshe, I could bring a proof, because that's what we're talking about, Shoel and V'darshan, when a teacher has to darshan. I don't mean to be a nudnik. Why does the Gemara say maybe it was the 4th of the month or the 5th of the month? Why does the Gemara say maybe it was the 2nd of the month or the 3rd of the month? It would still be a kasha. Why does he jump to 4-5? Maybe he could say, if it was already the 2nd of the month, it's not 2 weeks. If it's the 3rd of the month, it's not 2 weeks. I mean, he could have also said 7, 8, 9, 10. Not 10, but 9.
It says clearly lachem. So Moshe knew that it's not only for me information lachem.
No, of course it's for everybody. The question is when he said it. When he said it. So the Yavit says, Rabbi Yaakov Emden says, you see the diuk of the Gemara. Yitzias Mitzrayim was on a Thursday. The Gemara says in Masechet Shot Yitzias Mitzrayim was on a Thursday. So Rosh Chodesh Nisan was also on a Thursday. So Beis Nisan was Friday, Gimel Nisan was Shabbos, Daled Nisan was Sunday. Yeah. Friday and Shabbos, you don't bother. That's what he says. Friday and Shabbos, you don't bother. The Gemara says that Eliyahu, he won't come on Friday to be mavalbul Jews. They're busy with Shabbos. Friday's a stressful day. That's why the Gemara says maybe it was the 4th day. You wait till Sunday or Monday. That's what he says. That's what he says 4 or 5, not 2 or 3, because it was Friday and Shabbos. Shabbos, you don't talk about taking sheep. They can't do it on Shabbos anyway. You have to schlep sheep on Shabbos. You're not allowed to. It could be a Shiloh of Tiltul and all these things, even though it was before Matan Torah, but there was still a concept of Shabbos by the Jewish people, even though it wasn't a mitzvah yet. It was only given in Mara, etc. But nonetheless, the concept of Shabbos existed. The concept of Friday existed. You see it from different proofs. And as a result of that, the Gemara says it's a diuk of Rabbi Yaakov Emden. A Geshmakadig, then it's also similar. Why the Gemara says 4 or 5. The first answer I gave you, that maybe the Gemara means Moshe said it later. There's also another possibility. Tosfos says both answers. Maybe Hashem just said the first pasuk on Rosh Chodesh. Maybe Dabru el Kol Adas Yisrael Eimer was Daled Nisan or Hey Nisan. In other words, we know that the first pasuk was, but maybe speak to the Jews about the Karban Pesach was a few days later. So even if Moshe said it on the same day, but the same day was a few days later, so how do we know that it's 2 weeks? That pasuk I know is the first day. My question is pasuk Gimel and on. How do you know that is? How do you know that? Tosfos brings both answers. Either you could say it all happened the first day, but we don't know when Moshe said it over, or maybe Hashem also didn't say it all on the first day. And for the Gemarah, Lama Rabbi Bar Shimi Mishmei de Ravina. So Rabbi, the son of Shimi, said in the name of Rabbina. Mehacha. Wrong source. You misunderstood Reb Shimon ben Gamliel's source. Wrong source. Let's go to another source, and we're now going back to Baal Loischa, which we did before. Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe b'midbar Sinai b'shana hashenis b'chodesh harishon. Uksiv v'yasu b'nei Yisrael sapesach b'mayadai. Parshas Baal Loischa, Hashem spoke to Moshe on the second year of Yetzias Mitzrayim, on the first month. That was your raya. And he said, do the Pesach in its right time. It doesn't say it was the first day. Here at least it says, there it doesn't say anything. In Parshas Baal Loischa it says, Hashem spoke to Moshe in the first month. And he said, do the Pesach in the right time. How do you know it was Rosh Chodesh Nisan? Again, maybe it was the 4th day of Nisan and the 5th day of Nisan, and he said, the same question. I don't know what Rabbi helped me, what Ravina helped me here. The same problem I had before, I have here too. It's not a question chumra kula. It's a question, you're making a new halacha. That 2 weeks before there's a chiyuv of b'dikas chametz. There's a chiyuv of shalom v'darshan. You can't make a new halacha because you like the 2 weeks. It doesn't work that way. You need a source. Chazal can't just make their own halachas tam. 30 days, 2 weeks.
No, it's tam, it's deraisa, right? It's definitely Chodesh Azeh. It's definitely this month.
Fine, but how do you know it was Rosh Chodesh?
Well, you have to go from this month. The max.
You're saying Sveika deraisa l'chumra. So since you don't know which day, so you go l'chumra, you start Rosh Chodeshness. Okay, that's interesting. You're saying Sveika deraisa, since it's a din min ha-Torah, not a din d'Rabbana, so maybe you go l'chumra because it's a suffix.
To teach the laws.
And for the Gemarah, Amar Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak. Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak said, actually we could figure it out. Asya midbar mi midbar. You could learn out midbar from midbar. What do we mean? Ksiv hacha. Here it says in Baal Loischa, Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe b'midbar Sinai. We have one of the 13 principles and formulas of explaining Torah. Rabbi Shmuel and this is what? Gzeir Shava. Gzeir Shava means when Moshe Rabbeinu used in the text a same word in 2 different instances, and that word is superfluous. He could have used another word or not used that word. He wants to say something. Here it says, we know that the Jews are in Midbar Sinai, but nonetheless it says, Hashem spoke to Moshe, b'midbar Sinai. Of course they're in Midbar Sinai, and he tells them, make the Pesach. Uksiv Hasam, go back to the beginning of Bamidbar, what we learned before. Tell them to count the Jews. Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe b'midbar Sinai b'oyel moed be'echad la'chodesh hasheni. Ma'alahalon b'rosh chodesh afkam b'rosh chodesh. I compared the b'midbar Sinai of Baal Loischa to the b'midbar Sinai of Bamidbar. Bamidbar was on Rosh Chodesh Iyar. He told them count. It says clearly in Rosh Chodesh the first day. So I say the B'midbar Sinai of Baal Loischa, even though it just says the first month, doesn't say the first day, but the B'midbar Sinai, it's called copy-paste, right? Remember, Gzeir Shava is copy-paste. Copy Rosh Chodesh to here, and say it was Rosh Chodesh Nisan. This is Reb Shimon ben Gamliel's proof that it was Rosh Chodesh. Very good proof. This is how Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak. Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak answers it. Zog the Gemarah, just a few moments. V'nichtav b'reisha the Chodesh Rishon v'ad nichtav the Chodesh Sheni. Here I have a big problem. Parshas Bamidbar starts with Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Parshas Baal Loischa starts with Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Should have been the other way around. Chronologically, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, he said, bring the Korban Pesach in 2 weeks. The Jewish people complained, we're Tameh. So he told them about Pesach Sheni. And then speak about the count of Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Parshas Bamidbar starts off with Rosh Chodesh Iyar. He goes through the whole senses, Bamidbar Nasai, and now he goes back, he backtracks, Baal Loischa, back to Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Why would you do this? Nichtav b'reisha the Chodesh Rishon, v'hadin nichtav the Chodesh Sheni. First write Chodesh Rishon, and then Chodesh Sheni. Amar Reb Menashe bar Tachlifa mishmei de Rav. Reb Menashe, the son of Tachlifa, said in the name of Rav, Zoi Soimeres. From here we can prove ein mukdam u'mu'ucha b'Torah. There's no chronological order in Torah. There's no earlier and later in Torah, meaning the Torah is not always meticulous to transcribe the story in chronological order the way it actually transpired in history. Sometimes it will write first a story that occurred later, and only later will it write a story that occurred chronologically earlier. In other words, In other words, Parshas Bamidbar could be about Rish Chodesh Iyar, and Parshas Balois could be about Rish Chodesh Nisan. It's not a question. In Torah we have this. In Torah we have this principle. As Rashi says, Lo hikpida Torah al seder muktam amocher, or Parshi is the nemru tchilik dimu hamocher isla. Sometimes Parshi is that were said. Tchilo hikdimu hamocher isla. There's no seder muktam amocher that whatever was said earlier had to precede that which was said later. But Mele Rish Chodesh Nisan could come after Rish Chodesh here. The Gemara is not explaining why Ein Muktam Amucha B'Torah. Rav is just saying Zoy Say Meretz. From here you could prove conclusively that Ein Muktam Amucha B'Torah. I want to share with you just a word I saw in Tosfos Rabbeinu Peretz. In Tosfos Rabbeinu Peretz, it's not a regular line that you would see in a Tosfos. The Tosfos that was authored by Rabbeinu Peretz, he says, why not? Why not? Why Ein Muktam Amucha B'Torah? So he says, it's based on the explanation is based on, he brings in the name of Rabbeinu Yechiel, based on the Medrash Tanchum in Truma. The Pasuk says, the Medrash says, and this is the explanation, Tilte la Kadosh Baruch Hu Parshiyas Shel Torah. Hashem moved around. He moved around. He relocated. The Parshiyas of Torah, they should not be in the proper order. Shelo Yehei Adam Koirei Parsha Ktana, so that a person would not read any small parsha in Torah, and through it do whatever he wants, and create whatever he wants in the world. In other words, since the Torah is the blueprint for creation, it's the tool of creation, if it would be in the order that it was supposed to be in, ideally, so then this would allow any person to read any parsha in Torah and create whatever he wants to create in the world. Because the koyach habriya, the koyach of creation, and of all of the energy of the universe is in Torah. So therefore he shifted around. It's like a puzzle, it's like a code, it's a maze. He shifted around. Now you go figure out. The oisius have to be in the right order. Right, in the right order. Mayim is mem, yud, mem. So you can have 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen to create a water molecule. You start shifting around the atom, you don't have the Bria anymore. So the spiritual DNA of the universe, but we all know DNA works with a program. Dr. Salman, I'm right, DNA works with a program. He's a big scientist and physicist. It works with a program. You start going into the DNA and you move around the letters. What's left with the DNA? Yeah, you have a very, you can't work. That's one of the ultimate rayas for the boiler, from the DNA, because you have, you take the DNA of, you have 40 trillion cells, 37 trillion cells. In each cell, you have the genome, you have the entire copy of the instructions for the entire organism. If you would be able to spread it out like a scroll, DNA in one cell, it would probably be the height of the Empire State Building 3 times. And this is,
Programs created by Hashem, not by a person.
The program of, I'm talking even the DNA, right? Now what happens if it's disconfigured, this letter, it's ice, it's like a computer program, yeah? I have a computer programmer, he does the yeshiva.net, so sometimes I visit him and I see the back end. I say, I want to take this period and put it here. He says, you're going to make a churban. The website is going to go down. I said, Bistoit Meshiga? You'll put an S here, an M here, Z here, slash. Yeah, it's a program. Now, this is the DNA in one cell. Now, what about the DNA of the whole cosmos? Is the Torah. If it would be Ein Muktam Amucha B'Torah, if it would be in the right order, then you have here the whole cosmos. So he says a person creates what he wants and does whatever he wants. So Ein Muktam Amucha B'Torah, so the way it was transcribed is, it's a big, big mix-up. And you have to know the side, how to bring the DNA together. Fascinating Rabbeinu Peretz. That's what he says.
So the energy would have been too aligned.
The words of Torah would be completely aligned with the spiritual energy. And it would be it would give every child the black suitcase that Mr. Trump has. You don't walk around. You want the black suitcase? Here's nuclear energy. Do what the wills.
It's our job to rearrange it.
If you can rearrange it, then we trust you with a black box. If you can rearrange it, we trust you. Those tzaddikim will rearrange it. We trust them. But that's the Hamoid the Kavod. That's why Ein Mukta Mucha B'Torah. It can't. The letters can't be aligned with the energy because it's simply nuclear. It's nuclear. So in Mela we see this here. That's how Rabbeinu Peretz teaches it. Lo yadam koire parsha ktana v'oisepa kol cheftzoi uboire kol ma sheyirtze. What the willst? Now, if you would be God, it's fine. But you're not God, and today you have a mishagas, right? And everyone needs the world to conform to their standards. So, Mela, you will not have the world that God wanted and the world that we have to achieve in what we have to achieve. So this is the proof, which is now going to become the beginning of the next sugya of how we are supposed to understand Torah if nothing is necessarily in order, which we will resume next time. Have a wonderful day. Huh?
Of 30 days.
Yes.
When someone asks a question to a Rav, you answer right away. You don't say, come.
Right.
What's the raya, though?
That's what Tosfos asked him.
Right.
That's what Tosfos says. Tosfos says, L'chayda, they asked, so what is he supposed to do?
Right.
The answer is, because he could have given them the answer that was relevant right then. The answer was, I'm sorry, Chevra, you can't do it, you're going to have a second chance.
You go to a Rav, it's not relevant. He answers you. He doesn't say, come back when it's relevant.
Yeah, but he didn't just answer them. He discussed all Hilchas Pesach Sheni. Moshe Rabbeinu gave them all the halachas of Pesach Sheni.
Wasn't just the answer you made.
Yeah, he didn't just say we're going to have a second chance, there'll be a second carbon, or I'm sorry, now we can't talk about it, but now you can't do it. Moshe Rabbeinu, he gives them all the halachas of Pesach Sheni. And you're talking about Pasuk, Tes Yud, Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, Yud Dalet. You're talking about Tes Yud, Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, Yud Dalet. It's 6 psukim, long psukim, which in Chumash is a lot. 6
That he could have
psukim.
saved for later.
That he could have saved for later.
Oh.
The fact that he did all the halachas of Pesach Sheni on Erev Pesach Rishon. And remember, it was a chaotic day. Right. The whole Klal Yisrael was bringing a carbon in the desert. It was not a day of
answering
of just answering shilas in a month from now. I'm just adding. That would be an extra reason. But even if it wasn't a chaotic day, the fact that Moshe says, no, this is the time to teach Pesach Sheni, he was teaching Klal Yisrael forever a Yisoid. And the Yisoid is, Shoyal and V'darshan Bilchas HaPesach Koydem HaPesach Shloshim.
So I was thinking, like, if someone didn't ask, he wouldn't have bothered to darshan. Nobody asked.
No, you're right. The whole mitzvah came from their asking.
Right.
If they wouldn't ask, we wouldn't have a mitzvah. Pesach Sheni came from the Hisoidus of Jews, the Lama Negara. The scream. That you're right. And it's a good diuk why we say shoyalin.
Right.
Because the whole yisoid of these halachas came from shoyalin. Very good word. Very good word. Since we learned it from Pesach Sheni comes through shoyalin. That's where the Gemarah says shoyalin. Because the darshan came through shoyalin. Yeah? So Tzvi Hirsch Berliner was right. If you don't ask, there's no darshan. The whole Pesach Sheni came from shoyalin. Lama Negara. Very nice word.
But so the main reason is because he didn't have to get into so
many pratim. He was teaching you saw that 30 days is the time to you have to start teaching Hilchas Pesach 30 days before. And from this Rava learned that the chiyuvim of Pesach begin 30 days before. So when they're everything. Dikas chametz l'mashal. Dikas chametz. I have a chiyuv. If I'm leaving my house within 30 days and I have chametz, and I'm not going to be able to do b'dikas chametz yudalit because I won't be there, or my family won't be there. I won't be able to do it. I have to do b'dikas chametz now. In other words, he expands it. It's not just you have to learn Hilchas Pesach. The chiyuvim of Pesach start 30 days before.
Right, he went extra. Right.
Reb Shimon Gamliel says it's not a raya why Moshe was teaching Hilchas Pesach. Pesach Sheni is Hilchas Pesach. Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni is Hilchas Pesach. It's Pesach Sheni. It's the Nekudah of Pesach. It's one inyan. The Chachamim say it's 30 days later. He's looking at the Eichus. They're looking at the Kamos. He's looking at the essence. They're looking at the time.
But it's also understood why Chachamim actually established 30 days, including a Abai, the Rabbi. The Chachamim also established 30 days, not like Rabbi Shimon, because it's also the Arais. It's also the Arais.
Yeah. The Ran says a Geshmak Kavod the Chidush Ran. He says some people would like to learn the Gemara. Once he's talking about Pesach, Moshe is talking about Pesach. Yeah. Let him already say everything. So he says Pesach Sheni also. He says that can't be the pshat, because if so, Reb Shimon Gamliel doesn't have a raya of Shtei Shabbos. His raya of Shtei Shabbos was the first raya was that he said Rish Chodesh Nisan. Hashem told him, Chaychos Alachem and bring the carbon Pesach on your Dalid, but he says to take the sheep on 10. So you could say once he said take the sheep on 10, but he said everything. So what's his raya? His raya is he didn't say everything. He said what you have to say. Take the sheep on 10, yeah. Be it makriv is a separate halacha. Halachas of matzah is a separate halacha. The pshat by Pesach Sheni is that it's tafel to Pesach Rishon. It's home is Pesach Rishon. Okay. It's Kilu Negei for today. Yeah, this is your Pesach Rishon. If you want to put it a little more hafshatadik, you could say it was the way of them being Mekayim Pesach Rishon. They couldn't be Mekayim Pesach Rishon b'maisa. They were going to be Mekayim Pesach Rishon by b'dibur through talking about in Pesach Sheni, so to speak.
It's not a makeup sort of. It's
so to speak, yeah.
So what they become the Pesach Rishon b'machshava?
Since it's their Pesach Rishon, so he spoke about it on Pesach Rishon.
So with the one that they were told me they actually did b'machshava, not b'maseh. They fulfill the mitzvah of Pesach b'machshava, b'dibur, v'lo b'mas. So they basically say manishtana, and that was sufficient.
Yeah, they just couldn't eat the carbon.
They couldn't eat the carbon.
They couldn't be makav. They couldn't eat it because they were tamei.
Did they say agoda?
Yeah, it's not negeya. You have to eat matzah Pesach even if you don't make makav the carbon Pesach. You don't have to eat moreh, but you have to eat matzah. Vigad Talavincha you have to do. Just because I can't bring a carbon Pesach, like today, we still have a mitzvah Vigad Talavincha. Yeah, that's not a shaila. And there's also a mitzvah to eat matzah. That's not a shaila.
People died in the middle.
Well, this is after Gzeiras summer. This is already. This is before the Miraglim. They weren't supposed to. They were supposed to go into Eretz Yisrael. This is before the Miraglim.
So how happened the Shema made the Shul?
The Gemarah says in Masechta Sukkah, I think Dav Chafei, 3 reasons. Either was they were carrying the bones of Yosef, or Nadav and Avihu. Nadav and Avihu died Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and they took him out. They took him out, and they were tamei. They were still tamei from Nadav and Avihu. Because when they took out Nadav and Avihu, it was the 7th day wasn't over yet. They were 7th day was Erev Pesach or the next day. So Mela, that's a second reason. A third opinion is Meis Mitzvah. There was a mace, and there were no relatives there, and they took care of the mace mitzvah. That's 3 opinions in Gemarah why they were tamei. Yosef, Nadav and Avihu, or a mace mitzvah. Well, lapel they couldn't be makriv because they were tamei.
Where's that?
Masechta Sukkah, I think Dav Chafhei.
Yeah.
Chafhei Amid Aleph.
And alongside that, so that the mashma says is that first Pesach, everyone was makriv, everyone participated.
Yeah.
Question to the rise.
Yeah.
And then alongside that, when you say that
The first Pesach was also different. There was no mizbeach. Everybody did it.
they could have been.
It was in Egypt. It was in Egypt.
Right? In other words,
Yeah.
they were Gemal, but they couldn't
Yeah.
be in it.
Yeah.
So then alongside the question of what was
It's before Matan Torah. This Pesach is after Matan Torah.
what's the pshat? I understood that the mitzvahs of Pesach Sheni was given later, right? But I thought the categories of mitzvahs, the mitzvahs that the Torah Shabbat was given, so everything existed to be given. But is that Makshava, the Dibur?
Perhaps, but not B'dibur.
Yeah, so everything was given, but it didn't. So what are examples otherwise of things that...
B'nai Slavchat. The daughters of Slavchat came in the 40th year that their father didn't have sons. They want a
But
nachalet.
that was only shaykh because they were going to divvy up the land.
Yeah.
They were going to go in.
So that happens much later. Parshas Pinchas.
Them were given, they
Yeah.
weren't
Right.
revealed.
That also came through B'nai Slavchat.
Yeah.
These are mitzvahs that came through people.
That's something that would have been learned in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
but learned but not actually
Right.
dealt. In other words, Moshe would have said,
Perhaps.
we're going to learn not.
No, in that case, he went to Hashem. He said, I'm going to ask Hashem.
So in other words,
Like here.
there were some things
That
there
were
was-
not given.
that-
Were not revealed yet.
So Moshe didn't know.
Right. Moshe didn't know.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
May I ask you for the source for this nuclear energy?
Toisvis Rabbeinu Peretz. It's a commentary on Pesachim.
On the Pesachim.
Toisvis Rabbeinu Peretz.
Where is it? Do you have it?
I don't have it here, but there's a sefer called Kovetz Mefarshim on Pesachim, and it has Toisvis Rabbeinu Peretz, or it's an independent book. Just like we have Toisvis on the side, there were different Bali HaToisvis that compiled commentary, and this is what he says here in the name of Rabbeinu Yechiel. Appella de Kavar. Huh?
I think in Oiz Vahuda was you have it like the Pesachim you have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the
Oh, not this.
Oiz Vahuda is the director of.
Ich habe gesagt, Heinz von Tesla bei den Parrots, gesagt, was ein Mukte mit Moche beteuren.
Ja. Aber mit keinem Beschaffen in der Welt.
Ja, der eine kann was schaffen in der Welt. Er sagt nicht, er sagt, kol adam oisike fi chefzei, und beide kol masche jirze. Anaye schwer, anaye schwige, anaye kalle, anaye chosser, anaye rov, anaye kehille.
So sagen wir es schon jetzt. Wo fangen wir frisch?
Weet nicht von einer Melech.
Exactly. Ah, ja, dann will ich mir das I finally got used to it. Jetzt Toshi.
Okay, that's why ein Mukte Moche beteuren. Don't worry. Don't worry, you won't be able to create one.
Schale für Toshi.
Ja. Hatzloche.
Just gonna machen. Er wird mit Rum. Back dabei.
Just 1 second, yeah. Not yet. Yeah.
Eine Geige muss
Yeah.
vorstellen schon,
Yeah.
ein Datum lang.
Yeah.
So Ehrenfeister. Was you have
Yeah.
to do between that.
So Rava holds if you go away before 30 days and you're not going to come back, right? So the way we learned, at least one mahalach in the Gemarah is that Mapailas, Minat Torah, you don't have to do anything.
You should.
Midirabbanon, you should do bittul. Just like by Mapailas, you do bittul.
It's copy paste.
It's copy, and the reason is because even though it's not Motzei, right? But if you're going to come back Pesach and it's going to be Motzei, you could be over by Rabbi and Motzei.
So why isn't Torah saying it in the Gemara that you should please do bittul? How do you say? It's not mentioning a word. Maybe I thought that maybe my poilus, because you are near it, it can happen. But maybe if you're away, even with the Gemara you don't have to do bittul.
Why Rava doesn't mention it?
Yeah.
He doesn't get into. He just says you don't have to do beer chametz. You don't have to do beer chametz. Why he doesn't mention that you have to do bittul? I don't know that that's the chiddush. You do bittul. Chachamim said you should do bittul always. Even with bdika you should do bittul. If you really want to argue, you could say Rava holds you don't have to do bittul. Because you're not planning to come back. Maybe he holds you don't have to do bittul. The pois can say to do bittul if you travel. Even if ain't daite lachs and you don't have to do beer chametz, which is a shitta lahalacha. Not everybody agrees lahalacha l'maisa. There's a Yerushalmi that has a third shitta in the whole Indian here. That even ain't daite lachzer, if it's mekaymes that I'm mechuyev in beer min ha-Torah, because it's badai chametz, the Yerushalmi holds that you have to do beer always, even if you leave Chanukah, and ain't daite lachzer, because in Torah there's no difference lamed before lamed, and tashbisu is always a chiyuv if there's for sure chametz min ha-Torah, and once you're doing tashbis, once the chiyuv tashbisu, you can only do bittul because the Chachamim said it has to do through beer. It's a shitta. It's a shitta say Yerushalmi, and l'lacha l'maisa we try to be machmer that way. But if a person left the house already and they didn't do it, right? They didn't do it, so you're not machmer that they have to go back to do it because we rely on the shitta of the Bavli here, the shitta Srava, that if ain't daite lachzer you go. But I'm just saying there's Yerushalmi is brought in halacha, yeah, the Ran brings it, the Rishonim bring it, and Shulchan Aruch Harav Barichas Siman Tov Lamed Vav Barichas, that Rava and Abaye, the whole heter is only a place where you're mechuyev and b'dikim d'Rabbanan. In other words, min ha-Torah, according to many, you have to get rid of the chametz in your house, and places where there is for sure chametz, at least 90%. But to go do b'dika in a place that there may be chametz, like your child's bedroom, there may be, but it's not a place where you eat. It's a chiyuv d'Rabbanan. So in such places, only a chiyuv d'Rabbanan. The Rabbanan could say before lamed we're not mechayev you, but the Torah never said such a thing. You're leaving. You have a chiyuv tashbisu. You have a chiyuv beer. 4:30. I don't care. You're not coming back, so you're not coming back. According to this, it's a chiyuv b'natayna. He says it here, and this is another shitta. The whole heter is of the chiyuv habdika taflam et vav sivav and shochnaracham. The whole heter of the chiyuv habdika is medivrei seifra. Right? Because min ha-Torah in Choshen Klal Shema Yeshem Kazayis Cham. In Oitzrus Yayim V'Shemen. Shar Chacham she'ein negilus shtamach b'chametz b'tetirus. Ve'en tzarich l'boitin klal min ha'Torah afilu lo bittul. Ela shechachamim tiknu livdik ben. Ve'hei nomnu sha'yotzim mebeise koidem lamed yom l'chol lo v'adayin takanosim o'midin oisel den Torah. Aval abayis v'chadosh negilus shtamach kol ha'shana. But a Chaim levitim levaim nacham decham natel shegiach chatzos yom yudalet. V'zeh yotzim mebeise v'layachzeh koidem ha'Pesach. Shegiach chatzos lo yuchal livdik u'levayir. Harei b'shah zu shal maflik mebeise chalav mitzvahs tashbisu min ha'Torah. Shemin ha'Torah in chiluk ben terech shloshim le'em l'koidem. V'kivon chalav mitzvahs tashbisu chalav gzeres chachamim shegazru that you can't do bittul. You have to do beer. So that's a huge shitta. That Torah is not mechalik, and therefore you have to do beer. My pilus, this shitta doesn't hold for my pilus. This shitta holds this chametz in your house. You're going to be every time you have a chiyav tashbisu. My pilus not, but it's not a my pilus. Not a my pilus. Then yesh cholkin. What Rashi says, afilu yesh vaday chametz haibim mit oid mit oich beisay eino yizakuk loyim yoytze koidem lamed yoyim. V'dayle bebitul sheyevatel v'gam bitul ze any element of the sofrim. Because when Torah you're not over b'chlal or no blau pelas. And linyan halacha should be lachish l'svarer rishayna. Aval b'diavad, if you forgot and you left your house, you didn't do beer chametz and you forgot. Lismach al svara acharayna, you don't have to go back to your house in yotze koidem shlashim yom. But if yotze toich lamed yom without beer, then you got to go back because there's no svara to say that you weren't mechuyev. Where in the first from before Lamed Yom, there's a machlaikas. No, or hire a shliach. Get a shliach. Yeah, get a shliach.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.